All doctors to the ER.
Do these guys have any idea what they are talking about?
Get squared away.
Spiritual.
Get squared away.
Emotional.
Get squared away.
Mental.
Get squared away.
Physical.
The podcast that'll help you get squared away.
All right, back this week with Squared Away. What the hell you been up to, brother?
I've been really good. I had a good dad week, good workout week, good work week. Damn, it's good this week.
That's a good wraparound, a good holistic approach to your week.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
amazing.
I did an Instagram live with shout out to Dustin, Dusty57 or something. I'll pull his handle up and put it on. But had a really good IG live with him. And one thing we started talking is he always likes to check in with the pillars. And it's almost more for himself than it is for me when we do these IG lives, just because it really gives him a chance to stop and think about all the different aspects that he's doing or not doing. And so this week I noticed that I don't necessarily have as much to talk about the emotional pillar when we're talking about the four pillars. Everything else very well worked on. The emotional is always kind of blends into the mental. It always kind of blends into the spiritual. So I really started thinking deeper, and two things I text you right away that I want to add to our emotional pillar is one, mindset. Excuse me. Mindset is a big part of the emotional. Your mindset towards everything you do in the day, your mindset towards your positivity of achieving things. It's mindset is everything. And that we've talked about mindset a ton of times. And I think we actually did a full podcast on mindset, but we didn't necessarily put it in a pillar. And I really think it needs to go in the emotional pillar. And then the other thing is your attitude. And your attitude short term and your attitude long term, your attitude towards the things that you're trying to achieve, but really also your overall, just your attitude, your positivity, your openness, your all of that. And that's all your emotional. So I just wanted to put that out there so everybody has some more to think about when they're working on their pillars, that there is a lot more in the emotional pillar than just your emotions.
Yeah. And sometimes we got to cover that pretty deep.
Yeah. And we'll take a deeper dive. And when I look back to find the mindset podcast, I think it may have actually been one of our test podcasts, because we don't have a specific podcast for mindset. And the Carol Dweck book, The Mindset, is amazing. So I'll go back through and do that, and then we'll do a full podcast on mindset and emotion. So this week we are going to do, well, actually, let's cover our pillars.
Catch up, huh?
Yeah, let's catch up on our pillars.
Yeah. So what have you been doing, man? How's that physical?
Oh, physical. It's been so great. Swimming 3 times a week because of your fucking friend, Eric. Excuse my language. If anybody didn't catch the episode with Eric, the Iron Man, Eric is a triathlete. Eric thinks it's really fun to challenge me and Martin to triathlete type activities. So Eric sends me a challenge to be able to swim a 500 consecutive, no break. FYI, I get 1 month to do that, and that'll be a 5x gain for me, because that's 10 laps in my pool, and I can swim 2 laps without taking a break to catch my breath. So we're gonna work on it, and then he challenged Martin to a sub 7 minute mile 5K. I think he forgot Martin.
9 minute. 9 minute.
Oh, okay. Sub 9 minute 5K. All right.
In my prime, I was running sub 7, but
got it.
I'm not in my prime.
Martin's not a young buck anymore. Joints are old. He's a big man. But so we have a challenge for Eric, and he's going to get after it. He's going to do the Murph. So he's going to run a mile. He's going to do 100 pull-ups. He's going to do 200 push-ups, and he's going to do 300 air squats, and then he's going to run another mile. And I think that Eric can probably get it done in less than 45 or 50 minutes, don't you?
Ooh, yeah, he should have no problem with the miles.
Yeah, no, he
air
should
squats,
be able to.
No, nothing there. Push-ups should be fine.
Push-ups should be fine. Pull-ups might be a little tough, but hey, you got to do them one at a time. I'm swimming 3 days a week for 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'm starting to run, but you know what? I'm not going to drop much weight for it because I like being a little more.
Yeah,
you know,
you'll be fine. But so there's my physical. And one of the questions for today, I'll get this one right out there, is why does Paul look like he's getting fat and Martin over there looking fine as fuck?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm going to approach that because
Must be
Paul
good
has
video.
been on a chase. Paul has been on a chase for a 500-pound deadlift and a 500-pound squat for a few months now. And I've been eating, trying to deadlift 500 pounds and squat 500 pounds. And
Trying to get more ballast.
well, I mean, you got to, if you're going to train for that, you have to have the calories and you have to have the protein. And I'm close. I'm still 211. I'm not big. He actually said gaining weight, not looking fat, but I changed that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I changed that to getting fat. But I hit 475 on my deads and I hit 450 on my squats. But now switching back for a month or two into more cardio, less carbs, rein it back in a little bit, lean out a little bit, because I don't want to get too far away from where I want to be physically. So that's where I'm at with my physical. How about you?
Physical, it's been good because it's tied to my work. So
Yeah.
I soft retired. So basically retired from the print and media industry for the last 26 years. And now doing something I love to do is in fitness and, wellness equipment, and, on a global scale, which is nice. And, they encourage you to work out. So I've been getting, sometimes, I do my normal schedule, and I think that's one of the questions, but I'll wake up and do my workout. But then lunchtime, because I'm working most remote, I'm like, hey, they're encouraging me to work out again, right? I hit that second one. And sometimes I work in my garage. I set up my laptop, or if I'm just, I don't watch TV. I don't have a Netflix, binge habit or anything. So I just literally throw in a third workout sometimes. So, a 50-year-old, I gotta take care of this body here.
Yep. You gotta, the maintenance is more important as you get higher in the mileage.
Yeah. So I'm guessing my third workout probably, to just hit a mile or two at a time now.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Yeah.
I don't want to start looking like I need to buy onion skin shorts and have my balls hanging up, but.
Well, I mean, as you get older, they do hang a little lower and a little lower.
I'm Asian, dude.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, and we're just going to leave it at that because I do not want to have the mental picture on that one.
Oh, man.
Mental. What have you been working on for the mental?
Mental, I've been getting in the supply chain. A lot of getting back into the concept and also developing that in my mind, because I've been in the C-level type of mentality. And now I got to get myself into basically a rough time in the period of, in the period of the world, actually, with, freight coming from other countries and, even LTL on the domestic level. So
I saw a graphic this morning, and it was our country, and it was green dots for every shipping container that's waiting to get received into our country. And it's a mess. Why? Is it because the lots are full and nothing is getting transported throughout the country from the shipping yards, or is the shipping yards backed up, or what? Because I originally heard that a lot of our supply chain issues are from shipping containers not being able to get stuff here because of shipping containers and shipping. Well, now they're stopped everywhere and held for weeks at a time. Why is this? I mean, part of me thinks that this is on purpose to negatively impact our economy.
Oh, I actually have a dashboard of everything that's coming from the different countries, because the company I work for is, based out of Asia, and we have manufacturing all over Asia and Europe. So, for us, I look at what the cost of containers are coming in, and I look at how long, what the duration of the containers are coming over, basically what's called ocean freight. So there's a lot of variables to that. It's not being done on purpose. It's roughly, you're looking at 35 days. So if you're expecting something from a factory in Asia, factory in Germany, it's got to come over on freight. It's an average right now, 35 days to get here. And if your best bet is if you load up a container of all your product. But the problem is, not many companies are loading up, full containers. So we have to put some of our product, use up X amount of real estate in a container. But the thing is, it used to be where containers are about $5,000 to get over here. Right now, they're about 16, 18 grand to get your product over here. And that's a portion of a container. So between freight costs, between factories that were shut down over in Europe and Asia, which are now starting up, or, moving some out of China, because China's shutting some down right now, obviously because of their response to, the climate change, I guess, or their pollution contribution. So between all those variables and then getting the product over here into the ports are backed up because you're having a problem finding labor. Can't get those things unloaded. So
that's where the port backup comes from, is the labor to get stuff unloaded, and probably also the shipping to get it from the port to wherever it's going.
Yeah.
So that 35 days, is that to end destination, or is that just to get it to the port?
35 days is end destination.
Okay.
So if you minus 5 days, so generally you calculate from the port to its end, warehouse, DC, or, store is 5 days.
Okay. And is that still pretty consistent right now? Because I know we're having a lot of hard time getting stuff to us just because of lack of trucks and lack of drivers.
It's changing. So I'm just taking, I look at the dashboard, I look at the last, 30 days. There's stuff there's some companies, you guys might be having, 90 days. It all depends, what percentage of a container that you have.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variables to it. And, that's why you have supply chain guys or gals to, monitor
supply chain people.
Oh, people.
My brother told me today, first of all, God love my brother and one of the other people that works for my dad, because I think they're the only two that are keeping the show Survivor still alive, because he's a Survivor nut. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
that's still on.
Yeah, neither did I, until he told me that they had to have a talk with this new season, because the main guy would always say, all right, come in, guys. And they had to have a conversation whether everyone was okay with him saying guys for a group of people that are not just males.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one. We're in a generation where we just go, hey guys, hey, why don't you guys come on over? And it's, mixed. Now it's
guys is like people. Hey, people, come on over. Not, hey, mister.
Yeah.
Hey, misters.
Yeah, people just doesn't roll off the tongue.
No, it doesn't sound as good as let's just start using y'all. Come on in, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to work.
Yeah, all right.
We'll see. But
mentally.
That's mentally. What about yours?
Oh, mentally, I've got 3 partial books here I've been working on. The Miracle Morning, Black Box Thinking, and No Treason. The Miracle Morning is good. It not necessarily applicable to me because I pretty much do everything that's in that book already with my morning, but it's really, really good for anybody that has a hard time with their day. They're not morning people. They're not necessarily achieving what they want to achieve. This is like step-by-step little things to get your ass up and get moving in the morning, because that first hour of your day sets the tempo for what you're going to get done. So if you really win and you own that first hour of your day, it's kind of downhill from there. And so that's the idea there. Black box thinking is awesome, but it's also pretty deep intelligently. Basically, the idea is that as a comparison, let's say a medical catastrophe happens and someone dies during surgery. There is no post-catastrophe thought process to see what went wrong. How can we fix it? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Whereas if an airplane goes down, within hours, that black box is pulled. The black box is then, re-listened to. They look at everything that happened and they figure out that, the landing gear button was right next to the other button. So we're redesigning all the planes and the buttons are getting moved so that you don't accidentally hit the wrong button. That was an actual thing that was happening in the 80s or something like that. Or multiple times the landing gear not down light would flash. Well, the problem was not the landing gear not down. The problem was wiring in that. So they figured that out. And the idea of black box thinking is actually going through and reverse engineering anything catastrophic or any negatives that happen, so that you have like applicable steps to improve. And so that one's really good. And then no treason is just no treason is interesting. I don't even know how to explain no treason. It is the mentality of extreme freedom, right? Like the Constitution is there because we all agree on it. The minute that it needs to be enforced is the minute that we don't all agree on it, and the minute that it is null and void because it has to be enforced. And it's just this idea that you're not treasonous by arguing with your government, because you're only treasonous if you're being false, if you're pretending to agree and then creating negatives on the back end. Whereas if you say, I do not agree with this, I will not follow this, I will not pay your taxes, I will not, participate in your vote, I will not get your shot, I will not follow your gun laws. You're not being treasonous. You are a free man with free choices and free decisions. And it's really interesting, but also pretty high thought process.
Well, so in this week you are going through 3 different audiobooks.
This has been multiple weeks, one to the next, and then I start a new one and don't finish the other one. So I need to get these wrapped up, because then I have like 4 more behind those that are in my list. So
yeah. Wow.
So there's my mental, my emotional, very much working on my mindset of accepting the things that I need to do because I want the outcome, not necessarily because I want to do them. The saving, right? Like we sat down a few weeks ago after the last podcast, we sat down and we were like, all right, we're putting this much money away. That's all going into our 401k for retirement. We still have this much more, this percentage more that we should be saving, but I don't necessarily want to just dump that into my 401k. I would like to have that somewhere where I can invest it how I want, whether in 5 years it's a real estate investment or whatever. So that sucks to say, hey, this much more money every paycheck is going to come out and go to a separate account.
Right.
Right. But the mindset of I want the end goal and I'm willing to go through the sacrifice. And that's really what I've been focusing on this last week, is focusing on the goal, not focusing on the negativity of the action that it takes to get to the goal. Focusing on
positive
swimming,
delayed gratification.
Yeah. Focusing on the being able to swim the 500 meters consecutively, not focusing on how much I fucking don't like every lap that I do. Right.
That's true. That is true. Awesome.
So there's my emotional for the week.
Yeah, my emotional is, like I said, it's been a good dad week. When you kind of get in the twilight of your life and your career and, parenthood, a great dad week is when your kids remember things. And sometimes it's just the smallest of things, where, my oldest remembers a football game or his first Badger game that we went to. And, my daughter, one of my daughters remembers going for popcorn in Chicago, Garrett's popcorn, standing in line. And, oldest daughter remembers, just going out to get some Tres Leches, that 3 milk drenched cake that is totally horrible for me. All dairy, all bad,
delicious,
all sweet. So I haven't done that in years, but when they bring little stuff up like that, it's just one of those weeks where it's just like, as a dad, you're, it makes you proud. Or your daughter tells your ex that, hey, I'm putting these carts away in the parking lot of the department store. I think it was Target. And, I'm doing that because, Dad taught us how to do that when we were younger. And it's just one of those where it's just,
makes you
feel pretty damn good. Yeah.
Right. Like successful. Like you did something right.
Yeah.
You impacted someone's life in a positive way.
Because teenage daughters.
Yeah.
At that time, all of a sudden they're like,
I'm right there.
Well, I don't remember that. I'm
in the middle of it.
And when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh man, I invested all that time and we did all these great things. And now they're like, I don't remember it. Then all of a sudden, once they hit that 19, 20, 21, all of a sudden they're like, hey, remember when we used to do this? Or I used to enjoy that. Then you get out of that dark period of that the dark daughter period.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I'm waiting for it.
I know.
I'm waiting
you got
for
a
it.
little ways to go.
I
though.
do have a little ways to go.
Yeah, it hurts a little, but man, that little stuff coming back
Awesome.
means a lot.
Spiritual, really been focusing on my gratitude and my meta in my meditation. Grateful for the things that I have and keeping that separate from my drive for success and my drive to achieve more and my drive for more out of life, because I think that's always been the thing that really holds me back from gratification is I feel like being grateful for what I have means that I'm not going to want more. And I don't think that that doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah.
So focusing on that. And then my different meta, putting the positive vibes out to people. And the hardest one is always someone that you have clashed with or someone that you dislike, but really allowing them to be who they are and realizing that most people that wrong you didn't wrong you because they wanted to affect you. They wronged you because they thought it was positive for themselves, and you just happen to be a byproduct.
Well,
That's
so
tough.
you got that straightened out, huh?
All right, that's work, man. There's no straightening that one out. That one's like doing a push-up.
Yeah.
You're never just done doing push-ups.
But you're always moving forward.
Always moving forward.
No, yeah, spiritually, it's been good. And it ties to the kids. And I think we have one question today. It talks about our schedule. And what I do is I have a little board in my bedroom that says family on it. And I used to have a picture of just the kids on there. Well, my older kids all have, their significant others now. So it was one week where I did the old, hey, Walmart quick picture thing, which is insane. I just throw a bunch of pictures at them. And in less than an hour, I get an email say, hey, they're ready for pick up, right? And, have a little picture with their significant others and posted those up. And, every morning I get up and it's part of my routine. I pray for my kids, my family, my work and stuff. So, that's, it's just
I'm not taking that step yet.
multiplied.
I'm not taking that step yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Just my kids.
Just your kids.
And I have one that's 8, but my 17-year-old, her boyfriend doesn't make it in yet.
Okay, yeah, mine are in their 20s.
Yeah. I get that.
After a certain amount of time and give it a few months, then all of a sudden, I'll put the picture up. But yeah, between that and like I said, with work, it's different getting out of the C-level. And, now I answer to, an exec VP, which, him and I have the same foundation. So, spiritually, mentally, and and even physically, working for a fitness-based company.
That's an awesome place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's end goal, right? For a lot of people that are sitting down trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, like you're at the end goal.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there's not work, but it's work that you like doing.
Yeah. And half the time I get to go into work just to work out, which is, an amazing thing. So, but yeah, so it's a good time. But there definitely, is a struggle. I think we talked about before, learning you're switching gears from going from C-level to now having the operation side. So it's something I enjoy.
Yeah.
Work is work. So
awesome. Should we break into this Q&A?
Yeah.
We're going to do a little bit of a different format. We've got a Q&A, and then if we have time at the end, we've got a little shallow dive, which is like some ideas that we've been throwing around that aren't necessarily deep enough for a deep dive, or we haven't developed them enough for a deep dive, but at least we want to get them out there to the ether and let people kind of start thinking about them themselves. But we'll go into the questions first. Should we, as Americans, worry about a Taliban retaliation on American soil, given the fact that we assisted in helping a lot of the Afghan refugees that were helping us in that country? What do you think there?
I would honestly say, as long as this administration is intact, you're not going to see a Taliban retaliation, because you saw, Biden's in technically his second term of office in dealing with the Taliban. So when Obama was in, what'd they do? They bribed. So they paid a lot of money. They shipped a lot of, weapons. If you don't think that's true, do a little more deep dive into research, but they basically pay off the Taliban for their safety. So, and this is what he's literally doing now. So I know people are concerned because we have a lot of Afghan refugees, but the Taliban even knows it. A lot of them that got brought over by the feds are not the SIVs and are not the American citizens who are trying to get out. And you're going to see in the next few months, a lot of these are going to be relocated in the swing states that literally they don't need any more population. Send them to California, but they're not. These are all going into swing states. So you can probably figure out, putting 2 and 2 together, why. They're getting free, basically a free lunch for life. And, why do we bring, hundreds of thousands in that way?
Yeah. And I never thought of it the way that you just said it, but it's extortion, right?
Yeah.
Like that. It's the bully. It's the bully on the corner that goes in and roughs up the shopkeepers and says it would be a shame if anyone really damaged your shop and robbed you. What I can do is offer you protection for this amount of money every week.
Yeah.
And that's basically where the terrorists are at with this administration is we can offer you protection as long as you keep siphoning money our way.
Yeah. I mean, we left an embassy. We left a full-blown, a nice centralized base in Bagram over there. Left that country for them with full-blown infrastructure. So this wasn't like Raqqa, when Obama was administration was in, where they basically had to build that up. And then when Trump admin came in, boom, they took care of that and wiped it out. So now they have full functioning infrastructure, but what do they need? They need cash. Mm-hmm. So they need cash, supplies,
that's not a production society.
Right.
So if you guys think of, if you pull away and you take the helicopter view of a population, you've got a certain chunk of pie that is always recirculating, and it's recirculating from shopkeeper to worker in the shop, and then they're using it for more shopkeepers, and then they're paying their workers in the shop and taking their little bit, and then it's going to the supply chain. Well, that little piece of the pie always stays exactly the same until you make the pie bigger. And to make the pie bigger, you have to export things, you have to create things, you have to offer services to other countries to bring in more influx of cash into your pie. And it sounds like that one of the main ways that they are increasing the piece of the pie currently is with lithium to China, with American weapon systems, everything that America left there, selling it to, sounds like mostly Iran, and then I guess just American cash.
Yeah. So we provided the infrastructure and we're basically priming the pump. So, as long as we're doing that, you're not going to see any retaliation, not domestically here, no. You're going to see crime go up, obviously, because there's a culture
that's an
problem.
issue, right? Just because the culture problem.
Exactly,
and we saw that in Sweden or Switzerland. We saw that, which it's a big culture swap, and it's a lot of things that people are not used to, they think is wrong, and they take upon themselves to try to fix. Whereas in our country, it's not a problem. It's not something we're trying to fix. It's something we embrace. And it's going to be a learning curve. And everybody that's out there that's in those areas, or even if you're not in the areas where they're moving into, have the conversations with your kids. It doesn't mean that that somebody that got taken from Afghanistan comes to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, gets relocated in your small town, Wisconsin. It does not mean that they're a bad person. It means that they have a very different cultural upbringing, and you should be aware of it. And it's going to take a while, and there's going to be some growing pains. Yeah. And being aware of it is way better than being ignorant to it.
Yeah. Teach them how to vote politically too.
Well, that's a whole different thing, right?
I'm just joking right now. Well, kind of half-ass
joking, but like, what is the saying? It's hard to make someone see the truth when their income counts on the lies.
Yeah,
and income is safety and security for your family, right? So yeah, it's hard to make someone see the truth when safety and security for your family counts on the other way, counts on the lie. And
Yeah. Lifetime welfare.
extreme personal responsibility is dying in our country.
Yeah. And these people understand suffering. These people understand, work ethic to survive. But when you all of a sudden receive lifetime welfare, eventually, guess what? You're going to sit in that lazy boy long enough.
Yeah, and we've seen it. We've seen it in so many. We've seen it in the Irish that came over and worked in the West Virginia states and figured out how. I mean, if you haven't seen it, watch The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. It's a Johnny Knoxville half-ass documentary, half-ass film, but it covers these West Virginia, coal mining families that figured out how to, and the grandpa figured out exactly how to do it. Gets every one of his grandkids on disability. Basically the whole family is on disability. The whole family is on, because of disability, gets all of these different prescriptions, cuts up their prescriptions, resells it for cash, and they're living without working on the government dime. And you figure it out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Not just in the coal mining. I know people that hear that.
And that's what I'm saying. I use that as an example. I use that as an example because the minute that somebody like me, a 37-year-old white male, brings that up, people instantly think that I'm talking about some other ethnicity, and I'm not. I'm talking about everyone living off the government teat.
Yeah.
The problem is like everything, it's not black and white. We don't just get rid of government welfare.
Yeah.
We have to intelligently implement government welfare. How do we intelligently implement government welfare? Well, when it used to go through a church, there was a church committee that oversaw how the money was helping the community and they were getting people back on their feet. Well, that switched slowly to the government now, and the government gets to take a little portion of all of that to then grow their own ranks. And when they see that 0.01% of $1 million is good, but 0.01% of $10 million is better, then let's grow the welfare state. Right. And this isn't a conscious, we want to make more money, take it from you, give it to these people. This is an organism. Government is an organism, and it's a faulty organism, but it's an organism like anything else. And it is going to slowly evolve to grow and get bigger unless somebody steps up and says, this needs to be on this. We need to get this under check.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a cancer, basically. Government is a cancer. Well, cellular production is how our body stays alive. Cellular production out of control is cancer. And we're on the verge right now of cellular production was government 50 years ago. Cellular production out of control is what government is now.
Right.
But to get back to the question, my answer was basically we should always be conscious of radicalism anywhere. Radical Islam, radical Catholicism, radical anarchists, radical right, radical left, radical anything. We should be concerned about radical
Waco,
anything.
Texas, anything.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's always be on high alert.
Yep.
Head in a swivel. So.
Oh, next one. I challenge you to swim 500 meters consecutive. I just wrote piss off.
That is, right?
I just wrote piss off. That's my answer to that one. We covered why is Paul getting fat and Martin looks delicious. This one. All right. Home gym or go to a gym and why? I bought gym equipment and have really had a really hard time getting motivated to work out when I get home from work. Never been one to be unmotivated to work out, but has been a real struggle lately. I'll let you cover that first because you and I are on different points, and I actually I know this guy fairly well, so I'll give a little prerequisite. He is also transitioned from one season of life to another season of life. Transitioned from, around early 20s, working, partying, living in an apartment to steady girlfriend, maybe fiance, maybe wife. I don't know 100%. Dog, bought a house. Like it's a big transition.
Yeah.
From there to there. So I'll let you talk about working out at home and working out at a gym because you do both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I hope it's not just the way my lifestyle is. My lifestyle is I enjoy it. I mean, to me, it's a massive stress reliever. It's a great way to start the day. And being at my stage of life where I'm coming around the corner to 50 and have had a lot of, problems with my health with back. I mean, health-wise, internally, I've been really good. I'm just dealing with, back problems since I was 30. Knee problems, I've had scopes, I've had ACL replacement. So that stuff adds up and you start getting arthritis. So I've just maintained a lifestyle of health, and that's been important. So what I did, but prior to COVID, was converted one of my garage sides to a full gym and have a rack in there, weights, dumbbells, and now I got some cable equipment in there. So, and I have some cable equipment in my basement, and we've talked about it before in other podcasts. I have the pull-up bars in almost all my doors. So it's just now that I work remote, and I don't know the listener if he works remote or if he's coming back home from work.
Coming home from work.
What it is, if I'm working from home, it makes it really easy. I mean, I can knock out a couple hundred push-ups, in between, when people want to get up to go get food. Well, instead of going and getting a snack, I'm knocking out 100 push-ups. I'm knocking out 200 push-ups, knocking out 100 pull-ups. Sometimes I'll put my laptop in my gym, my garage gym, and I'll be working and I'll be, knocking out sets in between. But I find that going to a gym is really important to me, and I mix that up. So I'm probably 60-40. Sometimes some weeks it's 70-30 because it gets you out of the distraction. And if you're coming home from work and you're tired, a lot of times you got to get in that atmosphere, where there's other people working out and you've got nothing to do there, but you have to work out because it's all equipment. So, if you're not working remote and your lifestyle, you're not driven to do it naturally and you feel tired, I would suggest, go to a gym. But if you really want to get, those 2-a-days, if you're just really dialed in and hey, for me, I mean, I like doing a lot of my power lifts at home because guess what? I don't need to have my shoes and socks on. And I like squatting barefoot and I like deadlifting, barefoot because I feel like I'm grabbing the ground.
I deadlift barefoot at the gym. So
You do?
yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Never had anybody say a word.
Oh, wow. Yeah, anyways, I haven't tried that. Yeah, I'll try that next.
Yeah. And I knew that was your space because I know you well enough that I know where your mindset is with that one. What I will say from a diagnostic standpoint is you live here and work here. We're in Martin's house. That's where we recorded, in Martin's office. Sorry. A lot of times by yourself, sometimes with one or two of the kids here, but it's not necessarily how it is for someone that lives at home, married, kids always there. I have a problem working out at home. I sold all my shit because I couldn't do it. Because my house, there was this I could do, this I could do. I could hang out with my 8-year-old. I could hang out with my wife. I could go do this. My house was for all these different things.
Yeah.
And so getting in the habit of working out at home was a challenge for me. So because it was a challenge for me, I sold everything. Well, then COVID happened. The gyms closed down. Well, thank God I knew you because I had your gym to come to. And it was the same. It was the same as going to a gym. I could come here. I could work out.
Oh, yeah.
It was a separation of church and state is how I always tell people. It's my separation. I leave my house. I am going to a place where I have one goal. It is to get a workout in. With that said, if you do want to work out at home, you're going to need to hack your habit loop. And everybody's going to be different on this one, but by hacking your habit loop, go back and listen to the Habit podcast and then hack your habit loop. It needs to be a specific time. It needs to be a specific buildup, whether it's a pre-workout or a meal or whatever it is, you need to have your cue. It's going to be your gym shoes that you put on before you leave work. So they're on when you get home. So when you look down to take your shoes off and you walk in your house, you're like, all right, it's fucking time to work out. Right. And it's going to be building the habit. It would help if your girlfriend or wife wanted to work out with you and you guys could get in the same habit, so that you're not like coming in and she's like, oh, honey, hey, you want to take care of this, or hey, dinner's ready, or whatever she's doing. If you guys were on the same habit, that would help a lot. But for me, it's the gym. I worked out at home maybe 3 times during COVID. Otherwise, I would go somewhere and go for a run, or I would go somewhere and go for a long ass bike ride, or I would go to your house and I would work out. Like I needed to be somewhere where it was specifically, that was my only goal.
Which might be your personality or habit trait, because you're talking about even with finances, right?
Yep.
You have to have the out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. I need to engineer stuff to be the way that it's going to be, because if I have to do it right when I think about it, it's not always going to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mentality is always, hey, I did 100 pull-ups yesterday, right? And the next day I'm like, what's stopping me from doing, 100? And I end up doing, 40 chin-ups, 40 pull-ups, 40 close grip pull-ups, and then 40, wide grip pull-ups, and end up doing 160. But that's, my mind's always like driven to do that.
Yep.
And it's easy to do at home. But yeah, if you don't have that.
So knowing yourself, knowing your mindset, and hacking your habit loop. And I think that it would be just as easy once you built, once you made it 2 or 3 months and built that habit of working out at home. I think it would be the same as working out at a gym.
Yeah.
But habits change. And especially I brought up the different season in his life, because as you transition from one season to another season in your life, a lot of your habits then change. And it's really easy to lose a good habit of working out without building it back up again at a different place or at a different time or with a different group of people.
Yeah.
But also, like, you guys that are out there that are listening to this, a transition in life is the best time to get rid of bad habits and to build new good habits that you don't have, because everything is changing. If you change a new job, you move to a new apartment, you got separated from a spouse, whatever the life transition is, and this is scientifically proven, these are the best times to get rid of bad habits and to build new good habits.
Yeah.
But they're also just as easily the worst times where you can gain bad habits really easily, or you can lose good habits really easily. It's going to be what you decide, how you decide to move forward.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Saying Asians are good at things is racist, Martin. There's a TED Talk on it. There's a TED Talk on it.
There is?
Yes.
Who said that?
I put the link. You can watch it, and we can take this on another day. I was going to watch the video right before I came here so I could remember what the explanation was. But saying that Asians are good at things is racist against Asians.
Oh my goodness. It's racist against Asians?
Yes.
Damn.
Because statistically, Asia is big, and some Asians are good at some things and other Asians are good at other things, and they're not necessarily better than anybody else. I think I remember that. I think I remember that from the video.
We established the norm, don't we? Because we're 70% of the population of this world. So we established the norm.
That's bullshit.
70% is a majority, right? 51 is a majority.
70% is a majority, but who looks at the world as a majority? Every country is so different and so separated.
It's a norm.
And so separate. It's fine. If you want to take on computer programming, take on computer programming. That's cool.
I know. I can do that too.
I know you can.
I'm good at math.
All right. Thoughts on this? Our daughter came home from school the other day and said they are being taught there are no bad people, just bad choices. I see the logic, but also there are some really bad people who want to see the world burn. How can you decipher the difference? I don't think it's one or the other as far as bad people or bad choices. I think it's definitely both.
Look at the administration. Look at Congress.
So here's my explanation on that one. I know what the teachers are doing here because I've read this science. The teachers are trying to separate the individual child from the individual bad choice, because scientifically it's been proven if you can separate your bad decisions from you as a person, and you are not the decisions you make, you are you that made a bad decision. It's then much easier to stay positive and stay on a positive trend and to not let because we all make bad decisions. You and I have talked about it a ton of times. We all fuck up, like legitimately. It's a lot easier to then grow and become a better person if you're not wrapping up who you are in your faults of the past. With that said, this is a very high-minded thought process without context to explain to elementary school kids. If there is context here, which there's no way to really know unless I guess you figured out what teacher did it and ask them how they did it. Yeah. But the possibility here of trying to talk to kids about this, but then lacking the context of you individually are not your bad choices, you also take the risk of then giving kids a way to then, how did I word it? To justify other people's negative behavior, right? Yeah. So this kind of falls in line with my mental idea that I've still not worked all the way through yet of the myth of pure evil, right? Like our administration currently, like you said, I don't think that they are doing the things to be negative. I think that they really think that that's the way that we move the world forward. I think that they're everything they're doing is fucked up, faulty logic, but I don't think that they're looking at intelligent logic and then going, no, we're fucking all this up. We're going to do all this stuff that's completely negative to ruin America and crash the economy and kill a bunch of people. Like they're doing it as what they think is positive. It's just what they think is positive is wrong.
Like, here's how I look at it is when you're talking about good and evil. So the question is, our daughter came home from school the other day and said they're being taught there are no bad people, just bad choices. I would probably disagree with that teacher because it goes back to the spiritual pillar. Is everybody is born with inherent good or evil, and there's no value, there's nothing in those bank accounts until you start filling it, right? So in the spiritual world, there's angel's food cake or devil's food cake, right? If you keep feeding a child poor choices, feeding them bad media, let's say by bad media I mean like bad TV shows and things that are immoral, guess what? That person's going to start feeding their evil that's within them. So let me use administration. Let me use a politician as an example. This idiot from California, Gavin Newsom, right? Guy actually looks like he could be from a movie like Satan
psychopath.
Or something.
Yeah, psychopath. He is the character from Psychopath.
I don't think he was born this kid that, popped out of the womb and, in this suit with devil horns and everything. But this is a guy that, it goes back to that old song Megadeth, Symphony of Destruction, where basically he gets in an area of politics and he starts seeing that, I can benefit myself this way, benefit myself that way. You can say that about a lot of politicians. And the more they keep feeding themselves with, greed, the 7 deadly sins, right? Gluttony, you name it. You start feeding that evil. They inherently become a, quote, bad person because that's what they're feeding. And when you're talking about politicians that make these poor decisions or, that you're like, why are they doing this to screw up the economy or whatnot? A lot of times they're not even looking at the big picture when they're making decisions. They're so Maxine Waters is a prime example. And she's also in California. Is somebody that, I'm doing all this to benefit myself, my estate, my family. And, basically it's a mental F you to everyone else.
But it is a mental ignorance towards the negative. It's not
well, they don't care.
It's not doing the negative on purpose. It's not Maxine Waters making these decisions and Gavin Newsom making these decisions because they're like, I want to force a bunch of kids to get a shot because a certain percentage of them will have negative impacts. I want to see the negative impacts. That's not what they're doing.
Doing is I can benefit. I'm going to make this decision because I can benefit from it.
And I can explain to myself why it's positive.
Right.
We're
I'm
being
going to justify
ignorant to
it
the
because
negatives.
I'm benefiting from it.
Yes, and that's
Exactly.
that's the myth of pure evil. They're not doing it to be evil. The outcome may look evil because of the ignorance to the negatives, but they're not doing it specifically to be evil, which is the myth of pure evil.
Yeah.
You know, the pure evil is somebody, you know, people do shit just to be evil. And while I think that there are some psychopaths
Yeah.
that do that, that is a very, you know, tiny number that have mental illness.
Yeah. So
So
if you keep feeding yourself devil's food cake, that's all you're going to want to eat.
yeah. But the famous, you know, I don't even remember which Stoic said it, but it might not even been one of the Stoics, but the line of good and evil runs through the middle of all of us,
Yeah.
right? Like that we've all made some
Yeah.
really shitty choices, and
That's
it
what
wasn't,
you-
and we didn't do it to hurt other people. We did it because we were either completely ignorant to the negatives or the positives outweighed the negatives at that moment in our minds.
Yeah.
So, what does each of your daily routine look like? You want to run through that one first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right, my daily. If you wanted to kill me, it'd be so fucking simple because my daily routine is basically dead on every fucking day. It's almost exactly the same. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, if an executive protection agent came in and looked at my day, they'd be like, "You are way too fucking predictable." All right, alarm goes off at 4 on weekdays, 5 on weekends. Everything is almost exactly the same, just gets pushed back an hour on weekends because the gym opens an hour later. I get up, take my vitamins, take my pre-workout. I use the restroom. I do my red light therapy. I do 4 minutes front upper body, 4 minutes back, 4 minutes lower body, 4 minutes lower back body. By that time, I'm remote starting my truck and I'm probably getting ready to head to the gym. Gym is 2 hours, so 5 to 7 or 6 to 8. Pretty much the same routine at the gym every week, other than my swimming has really changed up my gym schedule. Come home, eat, get ready for work, go to work on the weekdays. Weekends are a little different. I then work some from 7:30-ish to 8-ish. I work everywhere, so I don't necessarily go to an office. So it's when I leave my house, I'm starting work.
Yeah.
I eat at 9:30. I eat at 10:30. I eat at 12:30, and I eat at 2:30. I do my meditation. I have a reminder that goes off at 10 and 2. Usually I do my meditation at 10. The 2 o'clock doesn't always get done because I'm getting a little bit busier by then and don't have, no, bullshit. That's me making an excuse. Don't make the time. I usually work till somewhere between 4 and 6, come home, eat dinner, hang with the fam, do whatever I need to do for my work for the day, whatever I want to read before bed, put the kids to bed at 8 to 8:30. Well, the kid, since the 17-year-old kind of does her own thing, and go to bed between 8:30 and 9 every day.
Wow.
Pretty fucking
Got
consistent.
that, yeah, pretty memorized.
It's the same shit, man.
Like Groundhog's Day.
It is like Groundhog's Day, but that's how I get a lot of shit done is I'm consistent. I don't need to think about it.
Wow. I mean, I have a basic structure of the day. So my wake up is a 2-hour window, and that is dependent on what the schedule is for the week. So usually I have a schedule set up for the week. So now I'm adding back travel again. So it all depends.
Yep.
So between 4:15, 6:15, that is probably my wake up window. If I have early meetings, boom, then I hit the 4:15, get up. I'll take my supplements, my lemon echinacea ginger juice, and then I work out on basically no protein in my gut. So I'm fasting. Generally, I fast 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours max per day. I'll either go in the gym. If I have my son, he's still sleeping, obviously, then I'll work out at home and then get him to school when I have him. And if I don't have him, then usually I start work right away. So, whether I start work at 6:30, 7:30, it all depends. It all depends on my workload. So my days are really fluid. And if I'm not traveling or now that I work remotely most of the time, which is awesome, I'll either go into work either for a meeting or I'll work out at work during lunch and then I'll come home, or I'll just work out at home if the weather's, halfway decent. open up the, garage doors and slam in a good workout again and go back to work. And then some days when I have my son, he gets off the bus here literally every day. So I'm usually around for that. If I'm not, then I got to get a hold of my ex and, get that arranged. Otherwise, I'm working all afternoon till 5 or 6. And if my son's at the park, I do the thing where, okay, here, you can go for 30 or 40 minutes. Make sure you come home at this time so that we can eat dinner. Then I'll be like, I got 30 minutes. I'll go out to the gym in the garage and slam. I don't know. I'll be like, hey, I got time for 7 sets of deadlifts. I got time to do push presses because, I need to get shoulders this week, twice as much. So yeah, make dinner or, we go out to eat. A lot of times we go to the Asian market. That's probably the only predictable thing per week because I'm Asian and the only way to get good food is go to the Asian market.
It's an international market, Martin, not an Asian market.
Oh, if you walk in there, it's pretty much all Asians.
Fair enough.
Except there's A-Rod's, Tex Tubs. So there's all these Asian places and there's a, Mexican dude selling good tacos there. And then, then I try to, like I said, my bedtime is anywhere from 9:30 to sometimes it's past midnight. It all depends. And that's probably one of my downfalls is I have the office at home and I'll work. So I'll put my son to bed and then I'll do some work or, I'll clean, get laundry done and all that stuff in between. So, or,
yeah, see, 7 o'clock, all of my digital work stuff is off. Like email, if you send me an email, not you, personal email comes through, but if all my work email, everything is off at 7.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's tough. Right now I'm dealing internationally.
Yeah, and that would be totally different. I'm not.
2 in the morning. Yeah, so that's kind of how my day looks. Weekends are really fluid. So I'm not. Yeah, if you're gonna send a PI over to try to figure out what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, yours is a little bit tougher than me. Yeah, that's fair. I guess we're only gonna get through one more question. We're not even gonna get to any of the shallow dive stuff. But the last question would be. A recent survey of kids age 8 to 11 asked if I could add one subject to school, what would it be? The number one answer was how to be a YouTube star. And I'm doing the hit my head in the face right now, the meme of just banging my palm on my face. How do we get our children back to realistic dreams and aspirations? Or is this the new world we live in? Hard work works when nothing else works. I feel like these are frivolous dreams. We need more kids to dream of being garbage men, dump truck drivers, and farmers. I think that the kids dreaming of being garbage men is that's out the window. Dump truck drivers, maybe, but most of those jobs are because that's what people know, and that's fine. It's just you can't have, if you have an entire, this sounds so shitty, but if you have an entire population of 330 million people that all want to be, top 10 performers in CEOs and, A+ rated whatever, it's just not going to work. You have to have the people that are completely cool with being garbage men and completely cool with being janitors. And the thing is it doesn't mean that they don't look at their job and take it seriously and perform it as if they were doing, surgery. But it means that that's probably not fulfilling their bucket. Their bucket is getting fulfilled in other places. All of this is doing is providing a living for whatever their other aspirations are in life. And that's cool. That's totally okay.
But I think if you're going to add one subject to school, I think it would be the class would literally be called reality. Because when my kids went through school, they had more of an advanced home ec than I've ever seen. So they learned how to cook. They learned how to do, things around the house, even like laundry. So it was a weird type of home ec.
Really interesting, right? Because that's a fucking parent's job.
Yeah.
That's really weird because I get what you're saying.
Yep.
But also that's not a fucking school's job, but it has to be because there's so many detached parents that aren't doing that we're hanging the kids out to dry.
Right. And I think that what this reality class would have to teach them is hey, when you get out of school and what you see your parents do, this is life is you have to have a paycheck. You have to earn a living and you have to make a decision, not based on what you want to do, fantasy wise, but you can set a goal and guess what? You're not going to get out of school and somebody's going to hire you as a CEO of their company.
Yeah.
you're going to have to take steps, and being a garbage man is okay. Being a janitor is okay. But, set some, goals, have some aspirations, and then work your way there.
I think as far as my approach to the question, one of the biggest things is to sit down and have a conversation with your kid. Even if you have no idea if your kid thinks like this, they probably do. If they watch YouTube, they've probably thought of this. And the one thing that I really try to point out to my kids is, do you know who the most influential influencers are on things like YouTube? Are people that have done things. They are doing things, whether it is they are really intelligent and they're speaking intelligently on many different topics, whether they are great dancers, whether they are super funny comedians, and they not comedians necessarily like stand-up comics, but there's online comedy, right? And all of these people are great at something, and then they become influential because they are great at something. Even if their something is talking shit, they're really good at talking shit. You don't just get to become famous online. You don't just get to become famous online just for being you. You need to you need to have something, have a thing, whatever your thing is. Maybe it's baking cakes. Maybe it's hanging upside down and basket weaving. Whatever it is, you have to have a thing, and you need to chase that thing with all of your fucking energy. Because if you want to become famous and have people look at you the way that they do a fucking 10 million view YouTube account, they need to have a reason to watch you. You need to be exceptional at something.
Yeah. And I think every kid wants to be a YouTube star because they think, oh, it's going to be fun and it's going to be easy doing something that's just fun. And, my son and I watch, at first bedtime, we like watching the episodes of Dude Perfect and Team Edge. And these guys, Dude Perfect started out as just making trick shots when they were in college. And now they've expanded. But the thing is, when they expanded, they have gotten staff, they've gotten facility, and they have to push content. So it's work because they have to keep pushing content. Because if you don't, you become
irrelevant.
Exactly.
And if you're irrelevant, there's no money coming in.
Exactly. So they're making a living, but they're working. Mm-hmm. And they had to become really good at what they started doing and develop that. So, if they want to have that class, maybe that they need to show that, hey, guess what? There's work involved.
You need to do something.
Yeah.
You need to be doing something. I don't want to skip over this last question. Is it worth it to try to convince people who disagree with the truth or put their trust in media and government information, or just let it be? And that kind of follows in with the arguments with the left or family members or disagreements over, specific things. And in my opinion, the minute that you make something an argument is the minute that anyone's positive thought process or ability to stay open shuts down. If you can keep it a conversation and inquire as to what they think, so let's just get right fucking into it. Masks, right? If you want to get into an argument with somebody over a mask, get into an argument over a mask. But you know what you're never going to do? You're never going to convince the person across the table that it's okay for you to not wear a mask if you make it an argument. But if you talk to that person across the table from you and you keep it a really open conversation and you say, I don't want you to feel like your health is challenged, or I'm fucking having hard trouble with words now. We've been talking for too long. Whether I'm negative, I don't want you to think that I'm negatively impacting your health by sitting over here without a mask on. What would make you think that? And they say, well, everything that's coming out of your mouth is coming right at me. And then you can have the conversation that the average micron size of a cloth mask is 5 microns. And the average size of a COVID molecule is 1/1000th that size. So really, by you thinking that, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand that you feel like I'm impacting your health, but realistically, me having a mask on is like a little gnat flying through a chain link fence.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they go, oh, well, but what about like spit coming out of your mouth? And you can say, That's a really good point. But you know what? Spit coming out of my mouth is really heavy. And the minute that it gets into the air, if you try to spit, it's gonna arc and it's heavy and it's gonna go down. Whereas if I'm pissing it through a mask, I'm basically aerosolizing the molecules, and it may hang in the air actually longer than it would be. And if you can smell a fart, you can get COVID.
Yeah.
And so like that right there is a conversation that you can have. But the minute that you make it an argument is the minute that conversation's done. You might as well just yell at the wall.
Yeah.
And also listen to their point of view. Ask them and then really, really listen.
But I'm going to add to that, though, is that there's some people that you're not going to be able to get into a conversation with because they're going to get emotional just because the subject's brought up, whether it's a mask or vaccine or whatever. You're never going to be able to get in a conversation because they're not going to allow that capacity to even have a discussion.
But if they're that type of person, then it is going to take some critical conversation skills. But I think you can. I think that it's going to take a lot more listening than it is talking.
I think so, yeah.
And it's going to take a lot more question asking to get to the bottom of where their faulty logic is, not you pointing, this is your faulty logic.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pose questions that then get them to think about their faulty logic.
But do not bombard them with, texts and posts, basically giving them book reports for them to look at your side.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to basically fuel the fire.
Yep.
It's going to cause them to resist even more.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a tough question.
It's not a debate. It's a conversation. And that's what everything has to be. And that's, we're at an hour 3 or an hour 5. So we won't even get into the shallow dives. But one of the things I have on here is the yin and the yang and the mother and the father and the right and the left. And we've lost so much of that today. Single parent households make damaged kids no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's a father or a mother. Single parent households statistically make more damaged humans. You want to fucking argue with it. But the statistics are there. The science has been shown. That's going to be the same with a country, whether it's 100% right or 100% left. You're going to fuck a lot of shit up. You need both.
Yeah.
You need the balance. You need the dance. And the minute that we demonize the other side, the minute that the yin starts to look at the yang and say it's your fault, is the minute that we have a problem.
Yeah.
We're all human beings and we all want the same fucking thing. We want a good life. We want safety for our kids. We want to be able to rest in peace when we die, knowing that the world is better for our kids than it was when we were born, right?
Yeah.
We just disagree about how to get there. So let's have the conversation about how we get there, not keep pointing fingers and arguing and bitching.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I mean, it's a balance. People have to understand it's a balance, but the scales are messed up right now.
We take a swing one way drastically, and then we take a swing the other way drastically, and all that does is create a bunch of drastic, hostile bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not left to right thinking anymore. It's far left and far right now.
You guys, I've talked about it multiple times, but the Jack Carr books. The President Christensen in the Jack Carr novels is amazing, and Jack Carr did an amazing thing with building that character around basically a centrally thinking Democrat. He is. I'd stay out of our business. The government, you need a government, but it also doesn't need to control the population. Like, right? It's the center. And it doesn't matter if it's a center Republican or a center Democrat or a center libertarian doesn't count.
Yeah.
Center libertarian doesn't count. The problem with independence, I mean, not to get too fucking deep, is the problem with independence is are you wasting your vote?
I know.
But if everybody thinks that way,
but you have to
then nobody gets
start there.
I get it. I have not come to a positive point in my mind about that vote yet.
Right.
But we all have to do it. Everybody has to do it.
I'm an independent, but every time there's I have to cast a vote, I need to start my research in the center.
Yes.
And then determines whether I move left or right when I vote. So yeah, I got to take the emotion out of it and then start that, that needle right in the middle.
And we're gonna do a deep dive on politics one of these days. It's just gonna take a lot more developing so that we actually have some positive, actionable points. But one last thing before we wrap up on a positive, actionable point is you might not like who is your representative for House or for Congress, but if you don't make your voice heard, if you don't call them, if you don't email them, if you don't stop in their office, if they have no idea what you're saying, then you might as well just bitch on the internet some more.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like them, you got to tell them what you think, because they need to know what their constituents think. And if there's 1 million people in your state or 100,000 people in your city and only 5,000 of them are vocal, you want it to be your side.
Yeah.
So, all right. That is a wrap, a long ass wrap, but it's a wrap.
Have a good week.